Rittersburg was the center of the bright Republic. Though Bentham surpassed the founding planet with its vibrant economy and liberal housing regulations, Rittersburg remained the location of the government for the 100-planet state. Only distinguished families were allowed to live in its luxurious housing districts, and almost all of the homes were inherited. In one district, a row of modest villas lined a placid river. In the backyard of one of those villas, a man was reclining in a folding chair and holding a fishing pole. An empty bucket lay beside him as he waited for the fish to bite. An air car approached the guarded district. After the local defense system checked its transponders and scanned the vehicle for any threats, it approved the vehicle's approach. The air car descended onto the landing pad next to the garage. The door opened to reveal the chiseled face of a man in a uniform. The man marched briskly toward the backyard as if he was already aware of where the occupant of the villa spent his time. "Father?" Benjamin Larkinson tore his gaze away from his fishing float and beheld the new arrival. "Ark, as carefree as ever, I see," he said. "You've even taken the time to visit your dear old dad. How are the kids?" "As rambunctious as ever," Ark replied with a smile. He appeared to have loosened up a little. "I don't know how you managed to raise all 7 of us. I had a good wife, as do you. No matter how much of your time the service takes up, don't forget your family. You can't do anything if it comes at the cost of your wife's and children's happiness. That rule's half the reason I've made it this far." Ark nodded. "Speaking of which, I might have news about my elder brother. Reinkoll. I have no idea what he's got himself into. He's been the most reticent of you all. He loves his own son like a treasure. So why didn't he come to me? Does he think I'll think any less of him? Bah! We've spent some time digging into Reinkoll's movements the year before he disappeared. There are a couple of times when he went off the grid. I suspect he went incognito to visit a conflict zone. The travel would explain away the times he couldn't be traced." Benjamin grimaced. "Pirates? What has my boy done now? I didn't raise any of you to do business with the scum of the galaxy." "The trail ends there, unfortunately. We don't have enough information to determine which conflict zone he frequented. We're analyzing all the data devices he left behind, but he was very careful about the trail he left, so we're not expecting much from those sources." Benjamin sighed and closed his eyes as he leaned back in his chair. "Tell me about my grandson." "There are some anomalies surrounding Vez that paint a suspicious picture. While he was an unremarkable student at Rittersburg University of Technology, he's been performing above average in the month and a half that he's been active. It's as if he's grown wings now that he's free." Benjamin smiled. "I always expected Vez to reach his potential once he got over his inability to join our career path. I'm glad he finally found his way and decided to embrace his role in the world." "The financing remains troublesome. Despite receiving a production license grant, Vez is unable to leverage that asset. If nothing unexpected happens, he'll fail to meet his impending interest payments. Father, will you give him a hand if he comes up short?" "No, not even at the very last moment. Reinkoll went through the trouble of procuring those loans, so we should see his plans through to the end. I don't believe he'd leave his son stranded, even if he's indisposed." The river flowed gently and the sun shone brightly in the sky. A serene calm descended over the pair as the father fished and the son organized his notes, sending the relevant documents to his father's comm. "How's my grandson's work? He's not making more Fantasia variants, is he?" "He sold most of his 1-star variant licenses to raise money. He's completely committed to mastering the Caesar Augustus. I bought his first mech, which is unmodified, and tested it in the simulation." "Was it up to par?" "Not really." Ark shook his head in disapproval. "If Vez produced a mech as shoddy as that in the real universe, he'd be chased away as soon as he tried to certify it at the association." In most civilized human space, weapons such as mechs faced stringent controls. Designers and manufacturers were only allowed to produce a mech if they owned the necessary licenses. When they finished producing a mech, they needed to have it certified at the local mech trade association before it could receive permission to be put on sale. The MTA was a transnational non-profit organization with branches in almost every human state, a colossus of the mech world. They regulated the civilian production and sale of mechs. Most states, like the Bright Republic, gave them official backing to do so in their territories because they were good at it and adhered to strict neutrality, never outstepping their boundaries. In any case, if ARC said that Vez's product couldn't pass the MTA's strict certification, then his nephew had a long road ahead of him. If Vez managed to fix his weaknesses within a month, he might be able to produce a mech capable of passing certification, but that would require a lot of progress in a short amount of time. It comes down to time, huh? Benjamin mused. If the interest payment wasn't hanging over his head, Vez wouldn't be rushing to build a mech beyond his capabilities. It's convenient timing on the bank's part that they chose to hang such a term over his head without compromising a single thing. Ark shifted another set of documents to Benjamin's calm. We've looked at the Cloud Curtain Planetary Bank. The shareholders and employees are clean. Their books are also in order. The situation is just as it appears. The bank made a negative assessment of the viability of Vez's business, and it wants to claim his assets before they depreciate in value. Greedy swines. I'm glad to hear they're nothing more than that, though. Saves me the trouble of another visit. According to the latest reports, Vez should be working on a new virtual mech right now. Do you want me to snap it up when he puts it on sale? Yes, and keep buying one of every variant he sells in that game of yours. I want you to track his progress, and give him a little push while you're at it. Don't buy too much, though. I don't want him to grow complacent. Understood, Dad. Anything else? Keep digging into the so-called Future Sons Technology Institution. Any organization with the clout to grant a production license for Caesar Augustus won't be an obscure player. We still can't make much progress on that front since they're based in the new Rubarth Empire. Their corporate laws are too opaque, and deliberately so. Even if I use all my sources, I won't be able to find anything. Ark, I don't need to know who the shareholders or donors of the Institute are. Just find out if a new Rubarthan or someone else is taking advantage of our local laws and pulling the strings. That should be doable. I'll pass on your instructions. That should be enough for you to get on with. Now, leave me to my fishing. I'll go over the documents later and send you my thoughts in a day or two. Very well. Goodbye. As Ark left the villa, Benjamin relaxed and shook his head. He held a steady grip on his fishing pole. What kind of father abandons their son? The fish still didn't bite. Back on Cloud Curtain, Vez released an exhaustive breath as he finished fabricating the Nero in Iron Spirit. The customized Caesar Augustus model still had its problems. However, with prior experience and the various modifications he had made to mitigate a few bad spots, he had encountered fewer risks during fabrication. The CA-1A Nero, as he named it, still caused some difficulties, particularly with its armor plates, which Vez hadn't modified. He was having trouble finding a solution. The system offered a fallback. Its store sold various goods, but Vez couldn't afford them. The cheapest alternative armor he could find in the shop cost 1,000 DP. He also didn't want to buy it because it was several generations behind current standards. No one wanted to buy a CA-1 variant with substandard armor. A big part of what made the Caesar Augustus was its sword and shield, which were made from the same expensive alloys as its armor. Cutting back on the armor meant not just lowering the CA-1's defense, but affecting its offensive power. Luckily, it wasn't a problem he needed to concern himself with that day. He put the Nero on sale once he had ironed out the remaining kinks he had discovered during the last-minute tests. CA-1A Nero. Base model, Caesar Augustus CA-1. Purchase price, 950,000 gold coins, minus 50%. Premium price, 60,000 bright credits. Charging 60,000 bright credits for the Nero was stretching the model's value. It only offered a marginal improvement in performance and a slight decrease in repair cost to any player interested in a Caesar Augustus model. Still, seeing as his previous mech had sold quickly, Vez hoped his handcrafted Nero would at least provide a higher profit. He wanted to see some validation for the work he had put into his models. Now that he had finished the Nero, Vez knew he ought to go back to the designer and create another variant. The problem was that he couldn't achieve a breakthrough either by improving the CA-1's internals or replacing its armor. It came down to his lack of skills and resources. I can't afford the things I need, Vez said with a sigh. Stupid system. Why did the pagoda thing reward me with a Caesar Augustus? He checked his status again to see how much catching up he still had to do.
Status. Name, Vez Larkinson. Profession, novice mech designer. Specializations, none. Design points, 175. Attributes, strength, 0.7. Dexterity, 0.7. Endurance, 0.6. Intelligence, 1.2. Creativity, 1. Concentration, 1. Neural aptitude, F. Skills, assembly, novice. 3D printer proficiency 1, assembler proficiency 1. Business, apprentice. Computer science, incompetent. Electrical engineering, novice. Mathematics, incompetent. Mechanics, apprentice. Jury rigging 1, speed tuning 1. Metallurgy, apprentice. Physics, novice. Lightweight armor optimization 1. Evaluation, an all-arounder in incompetence.
I've acquired a decent amount of skills, but I've split my attention. Vez concluded when he saw how many low-level skills he currently had. I should either finish upgrading my electrical engineering or pick up medium-weight armor optimization 1. Raising my assembly sub-skills can wait until I start fabricating the real thing. He stared at his status for 10 solid minutes, but nothing changed. Come on, system. I'm at the end of my rope. You haven't sent me a mission for a while. Give me something to work with. Do you expect me to beg my grandpa for a loan or something?
You have received a new mission. Please check the mission page for the details.
Yes, finally. Vez celebrated as he raised his fists and grinned. He knelt on the ground, bowing to the computer terminal. You are my god, system. He praised the system and its timely missions, completely forgetting the times he had cursed it into oblivion for giving him missions with ridiculous demands. Mission, Tutorial Part 4, X Factor. Difficulty, B rank. Prerequisites, Complete Tutorial Part 3. Description. Some have compared the profession of mech designer to the modern Prometheus. Are mechs purely machines, or are they something more? Please design a mech with a prominent X factor, ranking at least E or higher. Reward, 1 random 10-year medium armor production license. 200 tons of raw materials reserved for armor production. The rewards attracted Vez's attention. With a production license and a couple of containers of raw materials in the bag, he would have enough money to gather the other materials required to fabricate his desired CA-1 variant. This mission was essential to his future planning. Vez said, scratching his head. What the hell is the X Factor?
User, please research diligently and form your own answer to the riddle of the X Factor. There are no wrong answers.
Okay, whatever. Vez had the feeling the problem was going to be a lot bigger than he thought.